Welcome, guys, to another West Ham United transfer news roundup. We're going to be talking about John Stones, Callum Wilson, Duvan Zapata, and Morgan Gibbs White. If you're new around here, support West Ham and you like this content, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Now, let's get into the video. So the first transfer news story we want to get into today, and that is the Express are reporting that Callum Wilson could be a target for David Moyes. Callum Wilson apparently has told Bournemouth that he would like to leave the club after Bournemouth's relegation, and that West Ham are going to try and pick him up for between 10 to 12 million. However, Tottenham are also involved, and I just want to give my opinion on this transfer. And Callum Wilson sort of splits divide in the West Ham fan base. If you go on Twitter or any kind of Facebook fan page and you just basically said, what are your opinions on Callum Wilson, I can tell you now, it's probably going to be 70% of the fan base hate him, 30% of the fan base, they're not really bothered. And it was because of the fact that he scored an own goal, well, not an own goal, but he scored a handball goal in the last minute of the game a couple of seasons back. I think it's when David Moyes first took charge of West Ham around about Christmas time. I think it was on Boxing Day possibly. And then after the game, he said it in the interview, oh, well, it was magic, when it was clearly a handball, and we did not pick up the 3 points. However, if Callum Wilson was to join West Ham, what is the pros and cons of this transfer? Now, let's talk about the pros. I think the fact that he has been linked with David Moyes. David Moyes likes to play a 4-2-3-1, and he suits 4-2-3-1, a lone striker formation, more than Sebastian Haller. Because Callum Wilson's able to run the lines, because of his pace, you can play the ball into him, he can hold the ball up, similar to Antonio. Not as very potent in the air, but offers great pace, offers great strength, and he's a little bit more technically better than Antonio. So I think those are the pros, that if David Moyes was to bring him into the club, that he would be more suited for that 4-2-3-1 formation. Now, let's talk about the cons of Callum Wilson. Firstly, his age. He's 28 years of age, so right now he's in the peak of his career. So we would expect him, for the transfer fee we're going to be paying for him, around about 10 to 12 million pounds, and the wages on top. Apparently he's on about 100k a week at Bournemouth. So if he's going to come to West Ham, he's going to be another player on the wage book that could be on £100,000 plus per week. And we need someone who, if we are going to continue pay players 100k a week, we need them to hit the ground running. We've got Anderson over 100k a week. We had Chicharito on over 140k a week. We had Lanzini who's on 100k a week. We've got so many players in our club that are on over £100,000 per week, but not playing like £100,000 a week players. And also his injury record. He's had quite a few big injuries over the last couple of years that have sort of stunted the amount of playing time. I did think last year he scored 14 goals in the Premier League last season, and he's played quite a few games this season. I think it was 35. Not as many goals as he probably would have liked, with only scoring 8 goals in 35 games. However, I think he has shown over the last couple of years that he is a potent striker in this league. He is a proven striker in this league. So if David Moyes is going to go splash 10 to 12 million on him, which I don't think is a bad price considering, his proven track record in the Premier League, he would suit our formation more than Haller would if we're playing a 4-2-3-1. However, if we did bring him in, I would really like to see Antonio played on the left-hand side of the pitch, Bowen on the right-hand side of the pitch, and then maybe try and Callum Wilson and Sebastian Haller up top, because Callum Wilson would be better in that striking position than Antonio, in my opinion, just because he's probably a little bit more technically blessed and probably more of a natural goal scorer than Antonio. Another transfer that we have been linked with, and that is John Stones of Manchester City. The Sun reported that we were linked with him for 20 million. That transfer really got shut down pretty quickly by West Ham's ITK in the no ex-WHU employee. However, a lot of, he again split opinion on the West Ham community, whether we should sign him, whether we should not sign him, or whether he was just in general good enough to play for West Ham. And the stance that I kind of take on it is, firstly, his wages. On Manchester City, this is the problem when you play for such big clubs like Manchester City, is that when you do want to sell a player, especially because he fits that homegrown quota, that you pay them astronomical wages, and then when they do want to leave for first team football, like John Stones apparently does want to leave to have first team football, and he's available for apparently 20 million, he still wants 120k, 150k a week, because he's so used to that kind of money and that lifestyle, he doesn't want to let go of it. And why would you? You wouldn't do a job for less money. So that is another con, his wages. However, he does have similar traits as to David Luiz. They're similar kind of defenders. One week they're absolutely brilliant. The next week, you don't know who they are. And do West Ham really need another inconsistent player? And it's not that I'm just turning my nose up at John Stones, because, he has got quality. He's very good bringing the ball out from defence, playing very good passes. In my opinion, he's more of a centre-back, more of a central defensive midfielder than he is a centre-back. And that is because if he's going to make mistakes in centre defensive midfield, then at least you have that back line that can sort of bail you out of trouble. And where if he plays centre-back, if he makes a mistake, 9 times out of 10, that striker's in on goal, pounced on your mistake, and he's probably going to go and score. So for me, if John Stones was ever going to come into West Ham, I would probably prioritise him as a CDM rather than a centre-back. And he could always be a potential Declan Rice replacement, maybe, like an outside replacement, a dark horse, because he's very good with the ball. He's all right at tackling. His anticipation of the game, he reads the game quite well, but he's just very clumsy, and he seems to not have learned from his mistakes all over the years. However, if John Stones does come in, or ever come in the future, I do think he's a defender like David Luiz that you need to sort of change the whole system around them. They're not very trusted in a 4-back formation. You can see at Arsenal under Arteta, David Luiz, when he plays in a 4-back formation, same with John Stones, when they're asked to go out to wide areas to attack the winger, maybe their fullback is a little bit caught out of position higher up the field, and they have to engage with a wide player or another striker. And those wide positions, their frailties and their weaknesses are very much exposed. Their pace, they get out done for pace, they commit loads of fouls. And you always see David Luiz and John Stones thrive in 3 at the back formations. So if we was ever to maybe go forward with a 3 at the back formation with 3 centre backs, you could always see possibly Ogbonna at left centre back, John Stones as the main central centre back, because then that will reduce the amount of times that you would have to go out to engage to maybe wide players, because of the fact they have a centre back either side of them, and then of course Diop at right centre back. So I'm not completely shutting down that rumour if it was ever going to happen. It has been said that there was no truth in that story, but you just got to take into account his wages. Where I just don't see it happening. Let me know again in the comment section what you believe of that John Stones transfer rumour. The next news story that I want to talk about again is from the Express, and it was actually in the same article as Callum Wilson, and they are saying that we are wanting Morgan Gibbs White from Wolves. And when I saw this transfer link, I was a little bit surprised, because from what I understand, maybe I'm wrong, and if any Wolves fans see this video, is that he is highly regarded at Wolves. He's a youngster who's come through the academy kind of thing. He's played a lot of games in the Europa League, more games in the Europa League than the Premier League, but he's a highly regarded youngster. And the only thing that I could see sort of a problem with him is possibly his attitude and how he deals with himself and his professionalism off the pitch. I don't know if you guys remember, but he was in the news when he broke lockdown rules, when obviously everyone was supposed to be staying inside. He actually had a party, or he went to a friend's party, and it was plastered all over the news. And then from that point, there's always been sort of rumours whether Morgan Gibbs White would be leaving the club. And I actually like the idea of him coming to West Ham. Apparently it would be a permanent transfer, and there was no sort of talk of a loan. I do like the idea of him coming, but however, West Ham again have had loads of these players in the past. We've got so many attitude problems. Reece Oxford was, after that game against Arsenal, he was going to be regarded as the next best thing. He was supposed to be like Declan Rice. Back then, Reece Oxford was rated higher than Declan Rice. That's how much they believed in him. And you've only just got to see how his sort of career has turned out. Yes, there's a long time for him to go, because he's only like 20 or 21. However, we've just always seemed to have these players. Ravel Morrison, again, highly regarded by Sir Alex Ferguson. There was a sting under Sam Allardyce. He looked like an absolute world beater. But unfortunately, these players do not progress as far and as good as they should be, because of the fact of their attitude. And it all does come to attitude. So Morgan Gibbs White, it's another player. He does have the potential, and depending on the transfer fee, there was no sort of rumour as to say how much. It was just saying a permanent transfer. Do West Ham want to take this risk? Again, another player who could have an attitude problem, and then we'll have to sell him for a loss a couple of years down the line. I'm not too sure. I do like the idea of it because of the fact that he's got loads of ability. However, we've also got on the flip side, he does have this attitude problem. So I'm not really too sure, you know, on this transfer. Let me know in the comments section down below what you think of that transfer. You know, it's something that's got, you know, flip a coin kind of thing. You know, he's got a couple of cons, a couple of pros. Yeah, let me know on that one. The final piece of transfer news that I want to talk to you guys about today, and that is West Ham being linked, according to Football Fancast, to Duvan Zapata of Atlanta. And West Ham have always get one of those transfer rumours every single summer window, every single January transfer window. That is just so far unreal, you know, just not realistic at all. And then West Ham fans will get our hopes up. Oh my God, we've been linked with this player, and it never comes to fruition. And I think this is one of them. Apparently, we've been linked to around about 30 million euros. Firstly, West Ham do not have the money to go and just buy a striker outright, unless Haller was sold tomorrow for 30 to 35 or 40 million pounds, whatever the fee is. Then West Ham just don't have the money to go and purchase another striker on top of a 45 million striker, you know, that we bought last season. And do I see us, you know, investing another big load of money into a striker, considering the problems, or you know, or what we've experienced so far with Haller? I just don't see it happening. You know, he's scoring goals for fun in Syria. Last season, he scored 29 goals. This season, he scored 12 goals in 17 games. And I think he's had a few injuries this season, according to the stats. You know, he's had a few injuries. And he scored quite a few goals in the Champions League. So, is this transfer ever going to happen? No. But if he was to come in at any point, he does make, you know, remind me of a cross between Antonio and Haller. Sort of them two, you think of them two, right, merged into one is an absolute unit. 6'2", a big frame, very strong, very quick, loves to dribble with the ball, and is a lot more technical than Antonio. So obviously, if we ever brought him in, he would literally be a cross between, you know, a merger between Antonio and Haller. So that's going to be the end of the video, guys. If you're new around here, support West Ham. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe for more West Ham content. I'll catch you later.